I have to say that I'm happy about the deal, but I'm sad about Brexit. Have a good time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Who's there? Jean-Claude Juncker and Boris Johnson wrapping up very brief remarks about the deal they've reached. Back now with Owen Alterman in studio and Jonathan Sacerdoti live for us in London. Let's start in London. Jonathan, your first impressions of the comments we just heard.
As you said, very brief comments, culminating there with Jean-Claude Juncker's comments that he is very happy about the deal but sad about Brexit. Of course, there'll be plenty of people, especially in the UK, who are very happy about Brexit but sad about the deal. And that's the problem, really, is that Boris Johnson hinting there that he wants MPs, well, not really hinting, demanding that he wants MPs to get behind this deal and get it across the line. Of course, that's the problem. We have been here before. It wasn't Boris Johnson, it was Theresa May. There was a deal achieved between her and the EU. She brought it back, famously, now infamously, failed 3 times to get it through Parliament, and that was the end of her career as the Prime Minister. So Boris Johnson, of course, hoping that all the extra pressure, his extra abilities as the Prime Minister, him having pushed this through in such a short space of time, him having dealt with some really key issues, might get it through and over the line. But the DUP, that Northern Irish party, already saying they won't vote for it, the Labour Party saying they won't vote for it, and right now in Parliament there's a vote taking place on how the proceedings will take place on Saturday, whether or not MPs will allow him to have a pretty straightforward take it or leave it vote, or whether instead they'll be back to their old games of adding amendments and changing things so that really things don't go his way, but there are amendments added to the motion and the like. So he's definitely not across the line now. He's definitely got a big mountain to climb still back home in London.
Jonathan, we heard, as he was coming to the podium, he must have heard the news that the DUP is not going to be supporting this. And we heard a little bit of a pivot, I believe, with Boris Johnson saying that Britain needs to get this done now so we can focus on what really matters and all the other issues. Is that going to be his talking point the next few days, that this is a good deal, this is a new deal, and it's a fair deal, and we just have to get this done? Could he sway anyone? Could the pressure work, and could he keep the Conservatives in line?
Well, that really has been his talking point as long as we have had him as Prime Minister, not that long. And that is to say, he used his brief moment there, even in Brussels, to start his party political broadcast for an election that he's still not been granted, the 20,000 extra police and the like. That's because what his message is to the British electorate is, I'm trying my best. If Parliament gets in the way, you know what you need to do when we finally have an election. Let's get rid of all these guys who are standing in the way and instead put in place a solid Tory majority, and then he'll be able to push things through as he likes. That's also a hard sell. But Boris Johnson, certainly even his detractors say he's a snake oil salesman, he's bullish, he's a bully, he's all about presentation, but perhaps that's what he's relying on. Perhaps all of this is part of the theatre of Boris Johnson getting a stronger majority in Parliament so that he can then act with a bit more ease in terms of these negotiations. And remember that this isn't the end of Brexit. This is not even really the beginning. Even if this goes Boris Johnson's way on Saturday, even if he manages to push this through, it's just the beginning of years and years of negotiation. They're talking now about a free trade deal that they would agree. Those can take 10 years to plan. Even if it doesn't take 10 years, it could take many years for Britain and the EU to have a free trade agreement. There are so many more complicated negotiations to go on with that this certainly isn't getting Brexit done and dusted. It's getting Brexit started.
Jonathan, thank you.